Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. This is part 2 of Dumb, Dumber, and Dumberer. Part 2. All right, in part 1 we reviewed the film Dumb and Dumber, and we reviewed the film The Truman Show, which is a documentary about the matrix of mendacity. And here in part 2 of Dumb, Dumber, and Dumberer, we're going to talk about the here and now, the reality of 2024, the biodigital convergence. Okay, the people in my town, they're completely and utterly augmented. They're clueless and walking around without any critical thinking skills and zero curiosity about the world in which they breathe the air, breathe the polluted air. Today is a nightmarish chemtrail day. Again, I mean, you couldn't pollute the air any more than it is now. It's world-class atomic energy, Department of Energy disaster. It's a love canal, chemical disaster above my head. And again, my neighbors don't look up. They're not concerned. They don't hear the consistent and persistent airplane traffic above, which created all that problem and is measuring the toxicity level of the breathable air. They're not that concerned because they're dumb, they're dumber, and they're dumberer. Okay, so my neighbors, they don't know what DEI means. You know, diversity, equity, inclusion. They don't really know what that means. They don't know what DHS means, Department of Homeland Security. My neighbors don't know what a fusion center is, which is at the Sheriff's Department to combat domestic terrorists, you know, which is defined as people who resist mandates, disobey authority. That's a domestic terrorist, right? And my neighbors don't know anything about fusion centers or domestic terrorism. They don't know that processing centers are slaughterhouses. My neighbors don't know that. They just think maybe, you know, they handle photocopying at a processing center and they turn cows into hamburgers and pigs into bacon at a processing center. And it just happens magically. There's no blood involved. There's no fuss. There's no muss. My neighbors, not a single one of them knows what the biodigital convergence means or is. They don't know who Klaus Schwab is. They don't know what the World Economic Forum is. They don't know where the United Nations has an office in Geneva, Switzerland. They don't know that NATO has a House of Peace office, one block from the United Nations. They don't know that. My neighbors believe we live in a democratic republic and that we have a constitutional form of government. My neighbors believe that we have due process and civil rights. My neighbors believe that we have ethical behavior that was originally created on Judeo-Christian values. My neighbors trust lawyers and attorneys who are in the guild. Remember, an attorney is a barrister and a lawyer is a solicitor. And my neighbors trust solicitors and barristers. My neighbors don't know what tort crimes are. They don't know what a tort is. They don't know what states' rights are. They don't understand central banking. They don't know that we have 12 central bank federal districts in the United States. My neighbors believe in voting. They believe that our political leaders have their best interests and will represent them under our constitutional rights and our Bill of Rights. And that we have a judicial system of a Supreme Court and superior courts throughout the land. We also have an appellate court system in case there's any dissatisfaction with the superior courts. So we have superior courts, appellate courts, we've got state courts, we've got federal courts, and we have the Supreme Court, which is in the swamp, District 5 of the Hunger Games, Washington, D.C. Okay, so if my neighbors are clueless about DEI and Department of Homeland Security and they don't know what NATO Gladio kill teams are and they don't know what fusion centers are at the Sheriff's Department, and they're under the delusion that we have a republic, despite the fact that the United States is insolvent, right? We owe like $30 trillion of debt that we're never going to be able to pay back based on our income tax system. We're way beyond reality here. So I don't see how an intelligent person could think that you have sovereignty when you're dependent upon Swiss bank authority. In other words, without Switzerland providing the credit money, there can be no nation status, right? And if you want to make a decision as a nation that deviates from your Swiss bank or your banking authorities, don't you think that the banker would have the last say? Because otherwise, they won't provide you with the money to execute your directional plans. And if the banking authority wanted you to have mandatory vaccinations for monkeypox or bird flu or the Hong Kong flu or the Chinese Asian flu, right? Or the coronavirus or the COVID-19 or the 16,000 variants of the COVID-19, right? Or the mad cow disease or the racial mad cow disease, maybe your bank could impose and assert its will upon you under duress because they won't finance your budget unless you get those mandatory jabs rolled out, right? And you roll out a 7G mesh network system that looks just like behind my head today. And believe me, today is more polluted than this looks like behind my head. If you could just put silver, aluminum, gray, hash brown potatoes over that, it's hard to describe how polluted my skies are today. So my neighbors don't see the signs and symbols. They don't see the polluted sky above. They don't see their air is polluted, their water is polluted, their food is polluted. They don't know what a processing center is. They're happily eating their bacon and their nanotechnology. They live in a world of idolatry where we celebrate celebrities. We have Hollywood and social influencers from, Tucker Carlson to Stu Peters to Jane Ruby to Lex Friedman to Oliver Silverstein to Alex Jones to Joe Rogan to Bill Maher to John Leibowitz Stewart to Chelsea Handler to Whoopi Goldberg. The list of people like Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld and Mort Saul and Jackie Mason and Robert Klein and Meathead and Super Dave Osborne and Albert Brooks, Albert Einstein, is there's literally thousands of unfunny Jewish comedians designed to steer us away from the truth and steer us directly into a smart city FEMA camp where they can put you into a high concentration beehive. That's what they want to do. They want everyone in a hive, a beehive mentality, so they can mind control you, but also milk you like a dairy cow using molecular communications. So my neighbors, they don't know what molecular communication is, and they don't know what MIMS and MIMO means. Maximum input, maximum output, meaning how they suck the life energy out of you and insert thoughts into your brain. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Molecular engineering and molecular communication is not one way. It's dual purpose. It's to inject mind control fake messaging into your brain and in return to suck the electromagnetic energy out of your body area network, because you do have a wireless body area network that comes stock when you're born from the womb of your mother. We have dope sports, we have fake television shows, we have reality TV shows, which are fake. It's fake reality. We have maritime law courts, not constitutional courts. We don't have any constitution. We don't observe the Constitution. That's a prop. That's a punchline. We have occultism. We have satanic ritual abuse. We have the LDS Mormon Church. We have secret societies. We have a fully corrupted Catholic Church featuring Pope Francis, who's a fascist person from Buenos Aires. We have NATO, full spectrum dominance of our skies above. My neighbors don't know what the ITU is, International Telecommunications Union. They don't know that it's been in existence since 1865. They don't know that that's who decides what the 6G terahertz is and the millimeter waves. And every radio frequency for television and radio is approved and decided by the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, which is right next door to NATO House of Peace and the United Nations in Geneva. My neighbors don't know that the Bank for International Settlements is the central bank of central banks, that our banking system in this fake United States takes its orders from Basel, Switzerland, which is home to the pharmaceutical industry, and Novartis, and the PCR test, and LSD, and Sandoz Labs, and controls Roush Pharmaceuticals, which is nearby, but is in Germany, but is controlled out of Basel, Switzerland. Roush Pharmaceuticals, Novartis. They don't know that the chemical industry is controlled out of Basel, Switzerland. So you got chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and money system. Those three are all controlled in Switzerland, in Basel, with policies designed and approved in Geneva. And CERN is in Geneva, United Nations is in Geneva, International Telecommunications Union is in Geneva, and the World Economic Forum is in Geneva. Even though technically the World Economic Forum is not part of the United Nations, it really is, because they're in the same neighborhood, same zip code. They all know each other. They have interchangeable people who go back and forth. That's a black magic system. It's a system of sex, magic, and pornography. That's the system we have. It's based on pornography. It's based on the internet. It's based on woke messaging, mind control. It's based on mandates. And look at all the policies that we have in the United States. For a nation of freedom, we have very little of it. You have to have a license if you want to be a barber and cut hair. If you want to be a cosmetologist and you want to paint nails for ladies, you got to have a license. You want to be a nurse, you got to have a license. You want to be a registered nurse, got to register. You want to work in a hospital, you got to be registered. You got to have a real ID. I probably have to have max mandated vaccination status to work in a hospital in an acute care setting. If you want to be an attorney, got to have a license. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to have a license. If you want to be an attorney who practices before a judge in a maritime court, not only do you have to have a license, you have to be a member of the guild, the member of the bar. If you're not a member of the bar, I don't care if you're licensed. You have to be a member of the bar to speak in court and be heard by a maritime law judge. If you want to be a doped athlete, you've got to observe the code of silence, the Omerta code. You want to work as an executive in a bank, you have to observe the Omerta code of silence. You can't tell people that a fiat money system is a fraudulent system of command and control. You can't do that. Otherwise, you'll lose your job, right? Anyway, the world in which we live is a 7G mesh network, just like you see behind my head. I had one moron tell me, why do you have that picture of space behind your head? You know, we live on a flat earth, there is no space. Hey, moron, I'm not going down the gaslighting of flat earth. That's my neighborhood. That's what my neighborhood looks like. That's the sky above my head. You idiot, you moron, you dunderhead meathead, you dodo bird. That's a 7G mesh. That's why this background is behind my head. 7G was created through the concept of the RAND Corporation developing smart desk biosensors, and Stanford Research Institute International, DARPA, and RAND put together a plan to infiltrate the water system, the soil, and your brain, and your heart, and your lungs, and it's called 7G Smart Dust. And now we have companies like Dust Networks in Hayward, California, CRISPR, Joy Weiss, Coast Aluminum, Dynavax, a COVID-19 company using the same parking lot as is Dust Networks and Coast Aluminum. I don't know why you have a COVID-19 vaccine company next to a chalk company that makes aluminum dust, just like this, and Dust Networks, which works for DARPA. So I got DARPA is in the COVID-19 vaccine business, and they're in the smart dust biosensor business. We have C40 cities, smart cities, freedom cities, liberty cities, FEMA detention camps, real ID, facial recognition, eyeball iris recognition, palm print, molecular communication. And those are all having to do with processing centers. In other words, a C40 city, a smart city, a freedom city, a liberty city, a FEMA camp detention facility will harvest your aura, will take your electromagnetic energy, and it will remove it, and then it will entertain you with Netflix until your energy level drops so low that they decide to euthanize you in the form of a stroke, heart attack, turbo cancer, like in the case of Susan Wojcicki, and give her lung cancer, turbo style, and you'll be dead at age 56, just like her, or her son, dead at age 19, dead in his bed on the 13th of February, Stupid Bowl weekend. So they can kill you anytime they want, anywhere they want, but especially if you're in a C40 city, smart city, freedom city, liberty city, FEMA camp detention center, county jail. If you're in any high concentration zero lot line, you know how easy it is to put a bullet through your head. A bullet in terms of a photon ray beam or electronic magnetic pulse, pause pulsing to stop your heart. We have a human husbandry situation, which is the processing of turning pigs into bacon. It's processing cows into hamburger or steaks. It's human augmentation. It's the internet of everything. It's the internet of stupidity. It's the IOS, the internet of stupidity. It's the IOE, internet of everything. They have obelisks in essentially pyramids in Cairo, Egypt. They've got obelisks in Istanbul, Turkey. Rome, Italy has 3 obelisks. Paris, France has at least 1. And it has the Louvre, which is shaped as a pyramid. We've got an obelisk on the River Thames in London. Got one in Manhattan. Got one in Dallas, Texas, where they killed John Kennedy. There's an obelisk in George Dealey Plaza, 33-degree Mason. There's one in San Francisco, Union Square. There are 2 in Los Angeles, one atop the Griffith Park Observatory and Hollywood sign. Above the Hollywood sign, we have obelisk. There's also an unfinished obelisk in the Los Angeles River. Nancy Pelosi has an obelisk. Nancy and Paul Pelosi have an obelisk at number 2 Zinfandel Lane in St. Helena, Napa County. On their driveway, they have a mini-me version of an obelisk. All right, so just wanted to tell you about Dumb, Dumber, and Dumberer. If you don't know what a fusion center is or what the Department of Homeland Security does, like raiding P. Diddy's house, which is a number 11 house, 200 South Mapleton Drive, comports number 11. And before P. Diddy lived there, that home was built by William S. Paley, who's Jewish, and was the head of CBS, the CEO and chairman of the board of Columbia Broadcasting System, who built the tunnel system underneath that home in the 1920s. That's William S. Paley. It's not P. Diddy's house. It's CBS, OSS, CIA's house. And the Department of Homeland Security probably has access to the tunnel system since it belongs to NATO forces. All right, so anyway, if you're not up to speed with what the IEEE means in New York and New Jersey, Institute for Electronics and Electrical Engineering, if you don't know that, if you don't know that we have maritime law courts, that a tort is when you have a cell phone contract that you need a magnifying glass to read, that's a civil crime, that tort contracts are void. They're void on their face. You can't enforce a contract where it takes a magnifying glass to read the fine print, or is written in legalese, which is inconsequentially applied linguistics, nonsensical terms and conditions. Those are tort violations. They're civil crimes. Unfortunately, maritime law judges, they don't know what torts are, they don't know what constitutional law is, and they most definitely don't know what due process is. Most judges in America think that granting a continuance is a form of due process. It's not. It means delayed. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's what a continuance is all about. We have the ritual of voting. We have the ritual of pledging allegiance to a Masonic flag with 13 stripes. Those are signs and symbols that you live in a circus, in a clown show, in a theater, of a Truman show, of a Truman show. You live in dumb, dumber, and dumberer society where people don't know the basic reality of centralized bank authority, that the central bank digital currency means techno-enslavement, that biodigital convergence means techno-enslavement, that a C40 or a smart city or a freedom city means techno enslavement. They don't know that molecular communications means techno enslavement. They don't understand that molecular communication means human husbandry, and that smart city and FEMA detention camps are processing centers, meaning slaughterhouses with cremation ovens. That's the world in which we live in. Thanks for listening and have a great day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.